Hello, everyone. Today I have a great pleasure of talking with Amina Mara, a great lucid dream coach and researcher, an author, and a host of amazing podcast, the Dreamworld podcast. So if you haven't checked that out yet, I really recommend you do that. And we're going to be talking today with Amina about how dreams and lucid dreams, maybe specifically, can help us in time of crisis, of a challenge, and so on. So, welcome, Amina. Lovely to have you here.
Thank you. I'm honored to be on your podcast. Very excited. This is an important topic. So, yeah, like you said in the intro, I love all things dreams. I love talking about dreams, sharing dreams with others. And there's so many things like in the dream work field that, a person can focus on. So, lucid dreaming happens to be like my thing. It's something that I really enjoy talking about. It's something that comes natural to me. So, I teach people how to lucid dream and how to get more out of their dreams by bringing in lucidity, and it's something that everybody can learn. It's a skill that we can all practice, even if you've never had a lucid dream before. So I do that. I have an online course, and I also just love talking about it, in the community. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you're already spreading awareness among the new generations that are really, I think, into that, right? Like, do you feel that maybe younger people are sometimes more open to learn or to even hear about lucid dreams than maybe some older generations that didn't really know what is that?
I think so. Yeah. I think the internet is helping a lot with like making lucid dreaming more trendy and more interesting. And I also think that now in society, we have less like restraints and taboo about what we can do and talk about. So people feel more comfortable with these spiritual, psychological adventures. I think it's gaining more interest in the public in general and in the youth. So I hope so, because I think the next generation should really tap into this dream space. And the world definitely needs it right now.
No, it needs it so much. So, Amina, tell us, how did it start for you? Like, how did you get into that specific field of dreams?
Yeah, I've always loved dreams since I was a child. Like I've always had, since like 8, I've had lucid dreams and I always had vivid dreams. So I was always like in this world just exploring. And then in high school, I started to have more intense experiences like sleep paralysis and these longer dreams. So I got more curious about it. And then in university, I studied psychology because I was really interested in the brain and how it works and what happens while we sleep. And I didn't at first really see a way to like bridge it scientifically. Like I kind of thought like studying dreams wasn't really a thing, but
Mhm.
it is a thing and
It
people are
is.
doing it. Yeah. And I was so happy when I discovered that. But first, around 2020, I was kind of like, we were all sitting at home and I was like, why aren't people talking about dreams? I found a group online of people that were chatting on Clubhouse. And, I really woke up this thing in me that was like, people want to talk about this. People need the research. People need the dialogue. So once I realized that, I already felt like I was late, but whatever, I started the podcast. I had all these people come on and tell me about their dreams, not only just regular people, but scientists, psychologists, researchers, and then, dream workers and spiritualists. So I really started to like bridge the science and spirituality gap. And I just kept going from there, teaching people all this information that I learned from talking to all these different experts and, onronauts and explorers. I kind of gathered that and build a course. So, I just kind of let it go from there. And it's something that I enjoy doing and I'm not going to stop.
Yes, please don't stop. So, is there any specific area of interest within lucid dreams that interests you? Specific uses of lucid dreams or their, properties or how we can use them? Because I know there are many ways, right? That we can. I maybe don't like to use the word use so much, but like how lucid dream can assist us in so many different things.
Yeah, it's a hard question because there's so many things that you can use lucid dreaming for. Sorry if you can hear that rooster in the back. I'm on part of the podcast.
Actually, I can't, but all
Okay,
animals are
perfect.
always welcome on my
I
podcast.
know, right? Yeah. So yeah, like one of my favorite things to do in lucid dreams is to get advice for my life and get guidance on things that I'm working on. So, like, decisions I have to make or planning out, big projects that I have to do. I really use it as like a life hack in that way to, help me get through things or help me see things clearly, whether it's talk about a problem with somebody or things like that. Another thing that I like to use it for is just exploration, like talking to dream characters, like bringing out this extra layer of my subconscious to see what comes up. And also an element of exploring it as if it's like its own dimension that I'm exploring and want to uncover. So I like to ask dream characters about their life, about what are you doing here? What do you have to teach me from this dream? Whatever depends on the dream, depends on the phase of my life. But I can also talk about some other things you can do in lucid dreams. Those are just two of my favorites out of the infinite things you can do. There's always just having fun, flying around, exploring, practicing skateboarding if you've never even ridden a skateboard before, like all these things you can do. And then there's more spiritual stuff of like healing your soul, healing the world, like working on your traumas and like trying to, unpack things that are holding you back. Lucid dreaming is a great space for all that really important shadow work. You can get more spiritual with it and call upon your ancestors or guides or, figures of protection, whatever it is it may be. And you can also use it, for other things that benefit your waking life, like practicing skills, even been scientifically proven to help, you know, rebuild neural pathways and like, you know, hone in those memories and muscle memories. So especially if it's a skill that you're already practicing, it enhances performance. Even languages, or if you're more into the spiritual side, you can work on manifestation, like practicing for that job interview, or building your house that you want to see come to realization. So all these things that really help you just like feel it and experience it. Because lucid dreams can be fully sensory experiences. You're really there as if you're experiencing it, which is cool. And of course, there's levels to it. At first, someone might have a really short lucid dream. So it might take, even for me, it takes a few attempts of doing a dream task or trying something. It takes a few dreams, which can be weeks or months. So, I say be patient with it and, don't give up after trying things like for one day.
Yeah, totally. Persistence is a key, right? Also in practicing and developing lucid dreaming practice. So would you mind sharing maybe some examples of your own dreams or dreams that were shared with you that you have permission to share about how dreams can assist us in everyday things, like what you mentioned before, when you have a decision to make or you are confused or not sure about something, like it can be really down to earth, right? Like besides all of the big things and discovery, of what it means to be a human, if we bring it back to everyday life, it can be super practical, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes. So I can definitely give some examples. There's a few that always come to mind when I talk about healing dreams. So on a personal level, there was a time a couple years ago where I was going through like a depression and some grief and just like a really hard emotional time for me. And I was, feeling this way for like a while. And it came a point where I was just like, I want to heal. I want to feel better. Like I didn't know where to go next. It was a very like dark time for me. So I had a lucid dream in particular where I realized I was dreaming, and I realized that like in the dream I was in this like turmoil situation, kind of representing like my emotional state at the time. And I just call out to the dream like with all this desperation. Like it was really like a call from the heart. I was
Mhm.
just like, bring me my spirit guides. Like I really need some help right now. Like it was like a call for help to like my dream guides.
Yeah.
And this guy like comes through the door and he's like, follow me. Like, and we go through the wall like Harry Potter style, like just straight through the wall.
Oh,
Yeah, so dreamlike. And then there's like this like figure with like this Indian garments on, like this traditional, like beautiful energy figure. She's like female presenting. And she's like, I've been waiting for you. I've been looking for you till you come call me. And, I'm explaining to her, like, I really don't want to feel this way anymore. Like, I want to overcome this, whatever.
yeah.
And she like grabs my hands and then we start spinning. And then the scene is like it's like out of a movie, like this magical forest music. It's
Wow.
like this magical scene. I can't even describe it into words how beautiful it was. Like it feels so unfair to the experience. But as you can imagine. But anyway, we're going through this, like this music is playing and it's like this really ethereal experience. I don't even see the spirit guide anymore. I just have my hands out and I'm spinning in this like void, and it's giving like fairy forest vibes. And what was interesting about it though is that she was like shooting this loving energy through my hands, and I could like feel it pulsating through my body, and like I was one with this forest, and like it was this energy that was just coming through me. And again, like I just can't even describe its full potential. But after that, she started to let go, and I was feeling her let go. And I was like, no, like I don't want to disconnect from this source of love, you know? I felt
Mm.
a little moment of, you know, anxiety there, but I woke up from it still feeling this like radiating, like warm energy, physically in my body. And then, of course, as soon as I woke up from that, I just felt like a weight had been lifted off of me. Like I was healed, literally, because I felt better. Like the grief that I was carrying was just gone. And it feels crazy to say one day and another. Of course, there was still work to do and, things to apply, lessons to apply. But I really felt lifted, like I could have a fresh start of healing. So I always say that that dream and that spirit guide literally healed me that day, because from one day to the next, I felt completely better.
Wow. That's really incredible. And I can so relate to this feeling like you can't really put into words. Like we try to put into words, into language, those experiences sometimes, and it's so hard because they are beyond words, right? This is what I feel when I sometimes try to experience something that happened to me or I felt in the dream. It's like our language becomes some limited, I feel. But it
Yeah.
sounds like incredible, beautiful experience. And I think that dreaming and lucid dreaming and experiences that we can have, a wonderful thing about it is that we don't need to take other person word, for granted, because we can experience it ourselves and see for ourselves. And I am like a huge advocate for people really experiencing and coming to their own conclusion and living by their own truth, what they do believe or not believe. And I feel that immersing yourself in the dream space, such a beautiful place to do that, because you do it yourself, for yourself, by yourself, basically. And what you can feel or transform. And I feel that once you have at least one experience like that, something that you just described, or something even much less, magical, but still something significant for you, like it takes one time to something to shift in the beliefs. I see it with many people, right? That many times there is like this skepticism. It's like, yeah, but it's like, it's not real or it doesn't really matter. It was just a dream, my favorite, not favorite sentence, like it was just a dream. But then when it happens to you, suddenly you see like, oh, maybe there is something, to it. Maybe there is something beyond, us just processing memories and emotions in a dream. And it can go much, much farther than that.
Yeah, definitely. I think everybody should experience a lucid dream at least once, because I've noticed that too, where they just get it. It's so hard to explain to somebody that has never had a lucid dream. But yeah, it's a very non-dogmatic way of saying like you are your own guide. You can explore this for yourself. We can all do it. So I love that.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And maybe, this dream and this experience sounds so powerful and like so big. So maybe for a person that just starting, and they are not out there that much yet, would you have like maybe some advice or examples, like something maybe a bit simpler, that the person can do when they enter the lucid dream space that could help them with a problem, with an issue, with a dilemma they have?
Yeah, definitely. Even before you get to lucid dreaming, I'm sure you talk about, dream work a lot too, but you can always focus on your non-lucid dreams first, like set the intention for
Yeah.
what you want to dream about. And that's good, a good practice for lucid dreaming too. But it's good to really think about like what you want to do in the dream, because once you do get lucid, it can be a very short period of time. So it's good to already have in your mind like what you want to do in the dream, like how you want to carry out this dream goal. So, I always say start with dream journaling and setting intentions. That's kind of basic for lucid dreaming. So if you're already there and you're already in the lucid dream, it's good to kind of take a second, to observe the dream, take it in, like really feel your hands or your surroundings so you can like ground yourself into the dream. If you already feel stable in the dream, it's really convenient at this point to already have your dream plan in the back of your mind. Like if you've been thinking about it for days or months or however long. Because, a couple times I'll get lucid and I will not even remember at all what my intention was. It
Yeah.
just won't even cross my mind, which is okay. That's why I say it can take many attempts, you know? But if you do happen to think of your dream plan, give it a creative attempt. Maybe you'll try something and the dream has a mind of its own and does something different, or you try to open a door and it doesn't work, or you try to talk to a dream character and they just stare back at you. Like these things happen, the dream kind of has its weird little mind. So part of it is like trying to creatively explore the dream in different ways and also knowing like when to just observe and when to act. So, it's not that there's rules, but you just flow with the dream and see what it gives you. So it takes a little bit of trial and error and patience for sure.
I would really love you to talk a little bit about this, when to act and when to observe, because I feel that there is also some misconceptions about what really lucid dream is and the control we have or do not have over everything that happens in a lucid dream. Would you like to share a little bit about that?
Yes, yes, good point. So the definition of lucid is the awareness. So if you are in a dream and you know that you're dreaming, that's the awareness and you're lucid. This is a spectrum, so it's kind of hard to define for some people because you can be like kind of lucid where you're like, oh, is this a dream? I'm not sure. Or you're aware that it's a dream, but you're not
Yeah.
convinced. And then you can be like, I'm fully lucid. I know this is a dream and I'm here. This is so cool. But maybe you can't control the dream. Maybe you're just going with the dream narrative, but you know that it's a
Yeah.
dream. That's still lucid. Some people think that lucid dreaming means full control, but control is a different skill. So on that same spectrum, maybe you're fully lucid and you have full control and you can change the color of the sky and you can, whatever, change the dream scene. That's full control as well. So dream control takes practice. Like, once you're a lucid dreamer, you can improve on your dream control and lengthen the dream. It's all these different factors that make up a lucid dream, right? How vivid it is, how long it is, how much control you have,
Yeah.
all these extra add-ons, but the lucidity itself is the awareness of the dream state. So some misconceptions that people say, with the internet, there's always people saying like, don't do this, don't tell people you're dreaming, don't go through mirrors, don't look in whatever, all these rules and things. I don't want people to like, be scared of those or let that influence your beliefs because it will influence like how you approach the dream because there's no rules in that way. We have our own space to explore. When I say like know when to explore and know when to observe, it's based on your own dream experience. If you're getting frustrated with the dream and it's not doing what you want, that's a good time to take a step back and just become a conscious observer and see what messages the dream is trying to bring you. Because sometimes when we're lucid, we get so excited with our ego and exerting our ego and doing what we want on the dream and making the dream do what we want, but sometimes the dream has a message for us and we miss out on that when we don't like take a step back and look at it. And I think the same applies to waking life too. Like, are we lucid in the moment, observing the love from the world? Or are we just like focused on a million different things, trying to do what we want? So that waking life awareness really translates into dream awareness.
Totally. And also, I think now that I think about it, maybe also the control, that we try to have in a lucid dream also applies to the control that we try to have in a waking state. Because, as you said, sometimes in a lucid dream, you try to do something, you try to change a dream scene, or you try to accomplish a goal, and it's not working out. And then it's kind of like a crossword. What you're gonna do, right? Are you gonna continue being frustrated and try, or are you gonna think to yourself, okay, maybe I'm supposed to just let's see what happens. And I feel that in the waking state, it's exactly the same. We have our plans and ideas, how things should go or should not go. And then if something's not going the right way, like what do we do, right? Like, are we getting frustrated and we try to push our way through something? Or are we saying, okay, maybe, maybe things are not meant to be this way. And it's very interesting that actually it's exactly the same behavior in the both states, no?
Yes, exactly. I always think that dream is like a parallel to the waking world, and how we show up in one reflects how we show up in the other, definitely.
Yeah, I am definitely on the team of observing, maybe also because don't have such a good control over my lucid dreams. It's not something that I work really hard toward, but I really love this observing state when I'm just letting the dream unfold because I'm such a curious person. Like I say, I go into detective mode and I'm just like so excited just even to see what my psyche, is going to bring to me. I really love it. But also, I was thinking about like what we said about control and actually how we behave or who we are in the waking state. It's also coming up in the dream state. Is that also our beliefs gonna be tested? I think in the lucid dreams, especially, right? Because if you have some limiting beliefs about something, it will show up in the dreams, right?
Yes, definitely. Our dreams will cater to where we're at with an understanding of something. So, like, if you believe, like, I can't fly, like, I'm bad at this, your dream body is going to have a hard time
Yeah.
executing that thing because you're, like, not confident in that. So I always tell people, like, have confidence that you're a natural lucid dreamer. Even if you've never had a lucid dream before, like, you have to know that you're capable and all this stuff. And it takes some time, but yeah, even just beliefs about life and death and what happens after death, like lucid dream has the complete ability to shatter that, and really make you rethink your whole life because you're like aware in another dimension and you're fully there. And now all of a sudden, all of your belief systems are totally altered. So it has the potential to do that as well.
Yeah, exactly. For me, it was something pretty funny about being able to move through the wall, something that you said that happened to you in that dream. So, like, sometimes you hear like those general tips about like what you can do in the lucid dream or how to check if you're in lucid dream, right? So, like, oh, look at your hand or try to go through a wall or fly or wherever. And actually, for me, I feel like it's just I am kind of like opposite of everything that the general rules, or tips are advising. Because first of all, for me, the awareness in lucid dreams usually it doesn't come from reality checks. I just become aware because of something that's happening. Maybe it's a wrong day or something already happened and it's happening and again, and suddenly I have this moment of lucidity. Or like, no, this already have happened. Like, or my grandma is no longer alive. Like, this is a dream. And then I would go and at the beginning, right? And I would go and try all those things, like what happened when you look at your hand, or can you fly? And like, I could not fly. I could not go through a wall. I could not do nothing, basically, at the beginning. And so it was for me like, okay, maybe those are not the best reality checks. Because if someone is the same like me and they will try to check if it's really a dream doing those things, like they may be still, convinced that it's not a dream. And then one time, finally, I was able to put my hand through the wall. And I realized that it was like completely, there was no pressure about it. I think there's something about pressure and like maybe wanting too much some stuff. Because in that dream, it was like kind of like, oh, by the way, can I do that? Right. I was just walking somewhere like, and then my hand went through the wall and I was like, oh, I can do that. How cool. But I feel that when there is like this pressure, for me, I can't. Just the things are not happening for me in the lucid space.
Yeah, that's very common. It's happened to me as well. I think it's an aspect of like when we're too excited or nervous, or like you said,
Hmm.
pressure. Sometimes we just can't compute it, or maybe there's a deep down belief of like, oh, this is not going to work, even if you're not fully convinced of it. But also, sometimes I've noticed, you can't fully rely on reality checks because, like you said, they don't work for everyone. And there's anything could be a reality check. So hundreds of different things can work
Yeah.
for different people. Like, you hear the typical check your hands and flip a light switch, but I've made up the most random reality checks ever. But if you already know that it's a dream, for me, it's like 50-50. Sometimes I'll just have a random
Yeah.
noticing of awareness that it's a dream. And then sometimes I'll think to do a reality check. But for me, the reality check is just confirmation. I try not to depend on it too much because it has happened to me where I'm like, oh, my hand doesn't go through the wall. I guess I'm not dreaming. And I was dreaming, and it's so frustrating. Or one time I was like,
Exactly.
oh, I have 50 fingers. That's normal. Nothing weird there. I just don't catch it. So I've even at one point, I would do two reality checks in case the first one didn't work. The second one would usually get me. And the second one was something random, like, try to shape shift this water or whatever is next to
Yeah.
me. But yeah, I love telling people like don't depend on reality checks. If anything, one thing I like to do is I just assume that it's a dream. Just get in a habit of assuming it's a dream because in the waking world, like, okay, not much harm. It's obviously not a dream, but I'll just assume so anyway. And then in the dream, I'll assume that it's a dream and I'll be correct. So that works for some people. But you have to really find what works for you. Lucid dreaming is about trial and error because some tips might be totally useless to you.
Yeah, that's such a good advice. And like you said, like it's totally up to a person what's gonna work for them and not work for them. And as I told you, like for me, I felt like all the general tips and rules really disappointed me. So if I haven't tried, continued, I would maybe have thought that, something is wrong with me or my lucid dreaming. But yeah. So would you mind sharing maybe another example of a dream that helped you in any area of your life?
Yeah, definitely. I have so many, so it's hard to pick. But I can give a dream that's kind of an example of how I practice like healing for others, which is something that I enjoy doing. So I first got this idea for this dream because my cat was like sleeping on me and he was like purring. And I was like meditating and like half asleep. I was in like this hypnagogic phase. So I was already like slightly out of physical reality. And he's like purring on me. And I'm, for some reason, I don't know if it was actually happening or if it was my dream. I think it was happening because I could still feel my surroundings, but my breathing was like in sync with my cat's purring. So like the same,
Yeah.
like frequency, we would like breathe and purr at the same time, and it felt really cool. And I felt like I was like telepathically talking to my cat as this like dream was forming. And I'm telling him, or really, he's telling me things. Like my cat is kind of telepathically telling me that he's like this, you know, interdimensional being, and that he heals people with his like purring. Like his presence in my life is healing, and also like at night he protects us spiritually. That's what he's telling me. And I'm like, whoa, cool. And so I'm like, let's, heal for the world because,
Mm,
there's a lot of people hurting and,
yeah.
crazy wars happening, and like I don't know what I can do about it. He's like, okay, let's do that. So we start like shooting out this like healing love energy from like
Mhm.
every breath that I take. And he's like the transmitter to it, like the I don't even know how to put it into words, but he's like shooting it out and sending it. And I'm visualizing like the earth and our little ray beams of love like going over the earth. And that just felt really cool to me. And of course, I woke up and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's awesome. Like, go healing. But like, did I really do anything? Like, of course, when you wake up into reality, you're like, that's silly. Like, what does that really do? And then, kind of connected to this, I was at the airport. I've been traveling a lot, like, past couple of weeks. And then I saw something in the bathroom like, people in Gaza are starving. What are you going to do about it? And I've been thinking about that a lot because like, what can I do about it? Like I can use my platform to share about what's going on and, donate to fundraisers and
Yeah.
follow people and stuff like that. Because sometimes I feel a little bit disconnected of like, what can I really do from like where I am on this side of the world, right? And with the resources that I have. So, I use my platform for that, but it's something I've been thinking about a lot more, obviously, lately. So then I had another dream where I was fully lucid and I was exploring this town. It's a really long dream, so I'll just kind of like cut to the relevant
Yeah.
part. But it was definitely some sort of like initiation ceremony going on. And then I'm in this like river town, and the town kind of represented like different parts of the world that, need help or are going through
Yeah.
transitions. And there was, this like guy guiding me through the dream. And then we get to this big tree. It's like a 1,000-year-old tree in the middle of this river, and it's like flowing. And the tree had like markings of like people that had visited. Like it felt like that was a location in the astro that people come to. And they had like people's names carved on it, like John was here, like whatever. Um, and then even people's like Instagram handles like written on it, like find me in the waking. Um, and it felt like a place of offering. So in this big tree, like I looked closely at it and it had like wounds kind of like the fibers were exposed, and it had like, it kind of was representing like, suffering and healing, like,
Right.
open wounds. And so the guy was explaining to me like that this is representing like the struggles of the world and all the pains and wars. And so I climbed the tree. Well, first I'm like, you know what? Let me offer some of my, magical healing energy. That's all I really have to do in this dream. So I'm like doing Reiki on this tree, and I'm watching it like, reconnect and like heal over and patch the wound or whatever. I'm like giving it Reiki for a minute. And then I climb the tree and it's like this tree house because it's like this gigantic like
Yeah.
house sized tree. And there's these like people like in the tree and they're like crying and they're all sad and I'm like offering them support. But they're kind of giving me this energy of like, we don't really want to talk about it with you, or like we don't want to give you bad vibes or whatever. But I'm just offering them love and I'm like here for them. And I sit there what felt like hours. Sometimes dreams feel like so long and then I wake up and it's been like 30 minutes. But yeah, it just was another one of those dreams of just like really intentionally offering love to wherever,
Yeah.
anywhere and everywhere. And so I can keep doing that, but I still always have that feeling of like, I don't know if this does anything. But then part of me is like, I really think that like giving out love to the world starts from like the love within. So I do believe that. But then, reality hits me and I'm like, where is the love? Like, I don't feel it. So,
Yeah. Well, first of all, incredible, beautiful dream, and so relevant, I feel, for everything that's been going on in the world. Needed more than ever, I would say, probably. But about this doubt, right? Like, is it really doing anything, or am I imagining is it only happening in the astral plane or dream space and not really, it doesn't really affect our waking state? I mean, first of all, I know that there was some research about, magnetic fields of people that transmit certain energy and how far this field can go. And yes, maybe that's not exactly about the dreaming, the energy, and so on. But I do believe we will get there as well, and there will be more and more research, and people like you, Amina, are gonna make it happen. I'm sure of that. And second thing is that, yeah, maybe it's not something that can be proven, right? And for someone that loves science, I also really love science, and I love to be able to prove to people that something is working or not. But at the end of the day, like, I really do connect to this, to my heart, to how I feel. And do I believe that it is making something, that this is affecting something? And that's like my anchor point, because it's like with everything in life, right? That it is also shown that our beliefs do matter. So if I do believe that this is healing for me and for others, so be it, right? And if someone wants to tell me like you can't prove it, oh well, but what's the alternative, right? So not to do it and just feel completely hopeless, and yeah, I don't know what the alternative is.
yeah, exactly. That's how I feel. The belief makes a big difference and like really shapes our world. So, yeah, there's no harm in trying. That's what I have to do. That's my strength. This is the platform I have. So, that's what I'm going to use to give out love to the world. For somebody else, it might be different, but dream healing, I've noticed for myself on an individual level that it literally helped me. So, I don't see why it couldn't help the community too, even people around me, like I help dream for people that are sick, my friends and family. It's like a form of prayer. So
Yeah.
if we all believe in prayer, like dreams, similar ways.
Exactly. And also, if we're only even looking at the, again, down to earth ripple effect, right? So, okay, maybe you don't know if changing something on the world scale, but like, you wake up feeling better. And when you feel better, you are a better person. And I always say that, like, you need to think better and dream better, because then you become the best version of yourself. When you're tired, exhausted, with nightmares, unprocessed stuff, you're not going to be the best version of yourself. Whether when you wake up from a dream like that, your heart is filled with love, with hope, and all the other beautiful things, like how you conduct yourself, how you walk this day, even if it's only for one day, right? It changes, and it has a ripple effect, because maybe you're going to be nicer to someone that needs to someone else to be nice to them, and so on and so on. So even if we look at it this way, even if we simplify it only to this like small actions that happen when we are in better place and we act from different frequency, so it already makes change in the world. Like, yes, it's not solving the war problems and all the other terrible things that happening. But again, this is what I believe, that if we all take care of our, community and our families, and it's like, really, it's like a ripple effect. It spreads. So yeah.
Yeah, and the ripple effect is powerful. I do believe that it has the ability to change the world because, think about it. You're nice to one person, one conversation could change somebody's view,
Yeah.
and then that could change how they talk to their kids and or grandkids, and that's the whole next generation. That grandkid could be the next president. Like you really never know. That ripple effect can change the world just because of one conversation. I fully believe that, and that alone erases all of my doubt. So we're good.
Exactly. So whoever is feeling like maybe wherever they're doing their energy work, their prayer work, their dream work, maybe having doubts if it has any effect, we can always bring it back to this place of like it does matter, because even it just matters in your own family and your closest friends and so on and so on.
Exactly. I agree.
Have you planned like, or have you experienced, or is it something maybe in your head now? We are talking about like those dreams, those dream prayer dreams for healing the world. Have you planned or thought about like having maybe like a group doing such a work? Like would you try or already tried it with other dreamers?
I think that's a great idea, and I 100% believe in the impact of that. I haven't like done an organized one. I've just done like casual ones with my friends,
Yeah.
but that's definitely something I'd be interested in, and maybe that's something that I could do or that we could do in like the community if there's enough interest in it.
I would totally be down for it because, as you said, like, I really do think that many people walk with this feeling of hopelessness because of the state of the world. So it can also bring back hope, and also, like, I do believe create a ripple.
Yes, definitely. And I fully believe that like more people with the same intention like amplifies that effect by so much more, which is why people congregate for, you
Yes.
know, things and to give honor and remember things because like our energy together is unmatched. And especially at the same time, with all these different time zones, even just like a group of people coming together via email to share like what they dreamt about or what if they did the goal or the intention. I think that could be powerful too. I've done like, group dream goals with people
Hmm.
before, not for healing specifically, but
Yeah.
for like, let's meet up and do whatever task. And it's always interesting. It really brings people together to see how the dreams overlap and like what similarities the people dreamt about, even if it's like not on the same day. So I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, and also that reminds me that I think you were also some time ago, and I couldn't join. I'm not sure if it happened. You were organizing like some kind of dream telepathy events. Am I remember correctly, or I'm confusing something?
I might have because I've done that before, but I can't think about the exact one that you're referring to. But yes, I've done that before, like with friends or, different online groups of like, let's send each other a message and get it in the dream. And usually we're all in different time zones. So we kind of report back of like, hey, I dreamt of this. Is this your word? And, sometimes we've had some hits. So yeah, I
Yeah.
love doing that. Yeah.
Did you gather some like interesting insight? Because I feel that it's also a territory that's very still unexplored, but I do believe that maybe, in the next, I don't know, 10, 20 years, that could be something like the dream telepathy. It could be something like
It
really
is.
going on.
There's growing research on it for sure, but it is like this very difficult to research area because it is based on subjective experience. Like I'm telling you what I dreamt about and you have to take my word for it because I could be lying. Like nobody has a picture of what's in my head, right? So that's difficult. It really challenges materialism as a whole. But we have had some interesting hits and it's this very elusive like place because it's like you have to remember the dream in enough detail to accurately
Yeah.
see. And then you have to, control all these variables, to really make it reliable and able to be reproduced. So science is already difficult as it is. But, in the casual attempts that my friends and I have done, it'll always be like super close hits, but not perfect, like somebody dreaming of a mammoth and the word is elephant or something like that. But one interesting one in particular that we did was my word for my lucid dreamer friend was sushi. So that's like the image that I was thinking and I would send to her or whatever. And then in her dream, like on another night, she got like this image of this Swiss cake roll. Maybe you can like edit in the picture in the video, but it's like, those chocolate rolls. And they
Yeah.
look like sushi, like structurally similar to sushi with
Right.
the slices and everything and just chocolate instead of rice. But she sent me a picture of that. She was like, "Oh, like cake, is this your word? Like, I don't is it cake?" And I was like, it's not cake, but it is sushi. And that literally, like, when I saw it, like, something clicked in my head, like, that's the structure of it,
Yeah.
And it's like this broken telephone interdimensionally where, like, the message gets blurred a little bit because the dreamer interprets it, and then maybe they were lucid, so they remember more, but maybe they weren't lucid, so it gets a little blurry or it changes. We had some other very similar hits kind of like that, where it was like so close, but like slightly different, or like a weird play on words of the word that I was trying to give her, you know? So it always does like this funny thing, which number one makes it harder for science to grasp. And I think the dream does it intentionally, like, nope,
Mhm.
can't catch me, you know?
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I've noticed just doing these experiments how close we really are with people, especially people that we're physically and emotionally close to. We can like send messages through the dream. And I've also had dreams like with my brother where we're in the same kind of like dream scene, but he'll see it from his perspective and I'll see it from my perspective, you know,
Oh,
kind of like two people telling about a party that they went to, but maybe they had like different parts of the room, you know. So yeah, it happens a lot. And some people we just don't realize how much it happens because we don't remember our dreams, but we share dreams with people all the time.
that's so cool. For me, the only time that from what I remember or been shared with me, is that one time it wasn't exactly shared dream, but it was shared something that connects us in the dream. Was that when I was going through a very hard time, and I had this dream that I was like in the second or third floor of a building, and there was no floor really. Like there was only like on the edges the floor, but then on the middle there was like no floor, and so it was like just a hole, like there's no ground, right? No floor. And it felt like when I woke up, so my feeling was like, yeah, I feel like I don't have a steady ground under my feet. Like I will fall into a hole. Like it's very wobbly, it's unstable. But I speak with my husband about dreams in the morning. Like I ask him like, what did you dream? What did you dream? And this time I ask him like, oh, do you remember your dreams? And he's like, yeah, something really strange. Like I was building a floor. And I was like, "You are building a floor. Okay, thank you very much, because it seems like I'm really lacking a good floor right now." So it was like, I think because also he is very big part of my life. Obviously, he's my support also. So I felt like kind of his dream was showing me something, like I can rely maybe on his stability right now when I'm lacking it. So it wasn't exactly shared dream, but it did feel like very significant, because honestly, like, what are the odds? Like, we dream about so many things. He never told me that he's dreaming of building a floor. Like, come on, right? So it felt very significant. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. I think there's another term called mutual dream, and like the definitions vary depending who you ask. But I like to use this in between term where it's maybe not like a shared dream where we have all these exact things, but you get definitely are dreaming in support of each other. And that's so common. And like I fully believe that it's related because yeah, like we were saying, how the world, our waking reflects our dream, and like use your support system in waking. And then of course totally, I believe that you guys are doing these adventures in the dream world together, and maybe they're more shared than that. You just don't have full memory of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like sometimes when I'm up for it, like I say to him before we fall asleep, like, "Oh, if you feel like it, you can visit me in my dream tonight. Like I'm up for it tonight, and not every night, because I'm also have my own adventures, right? But if you feel like it, like come visit, right?" And sometimes I do remember that he was actually like I dreamt of him, and we were doing something. So that's really cool. So on this subject, I also wanted to ask you about precognitive dreams. Like, have you experienced precognitive dreams, and have you tried to ask about the future in a lucid dream? Aha.
Yes, I've done both.
Okay.
So more experience with the latter, which is asking about the future, because I'm always asking about the future and I only
Yeah.
get good answers a small portion of the time. But I do love doing that. So a lot of times it'll be like, you know, when I first started my podcast in a lucid dream, they showed me future episodes and they were like, keep going, you're gonna do great, you know. I needed that because I was insecure about it. And like
Amazing.
little things like that. Yeah. Like I've seen the future of like, you know, in 2030 of like my life and what we're going to be doing. So obviously I don't know yet if it's true. I have to wait and see a couple of years. But I've seen like small scale too. Like I've seen, you know, oh, I passed this test or I succeeded in that, you know, like my dream giving me confidence. Like, don't worry, you'll get it. And then I
Yeah.
do, you know? So those aren't like as like those you can explain a little bit more logically, right? But I'm always asking for the future, so it's fun. And then the precognitive ones for me, like they're never significant, like big events or anything. I
Mhm.
know a lot of people do have those, and those can be kind of scary or feel like a lot of responsibility. For me, it's something random in my day that it'll just happen spontaneously. Like it started in high school. Like I would see in a dream like an argument that happened at school or something between a teacher and whoever. And then the next day I went to school and the exact same argument, like not even coincidentally, like the same positioning in the hallway and the same person with the backpack, like details, 5 seconds of a scene, exactly how my dream went. Had nothing to do with me at all, but I'm just like, okay, like, thanks, I guess. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this information. It just showed me, like, hey, by the way, your dreams can show you something that hasn't happened yet, you know? And I kind of woke up to this idea. And then recently I had another one where at work, I had a dream that somebody like got mad and quit or whatever. And there was no indication that they were upset with the job. But I thought about this, and then literally the next day, we got a message that like, "Oh, this person, like, had quit for whatever reason, da, 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 da." And it wasn't, like, exactly how it went down in
Yeah.
the dream, but I felt like that's quite a coincidence, like, what are the odds of that, you know? So I wrote that one in my dream journal as precognitive, and then every time I write something in my dream journal as precognitive, it's like sometimes they're longer, but they're usually just, like, random descriptions of how this day is gonna go. And in the past, sometimes it's been like a big important day in my life. Like one time it was a whole day, like my friend and I, we went to this place and she showed me this necklace and then we got massages and then we had this series of activities that we did. And then like a month later in waking life, we had the exact same things that we did. And I only realized at the end of the dream when we were sitting in the car and she said something like, "Oh, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get something from inside." And in that moment, I realized that was exactly what she said in the dream. And that's when it clicked to me like, whoa, I had a dream of this moment, like deja vu. And then I pulled it up in the moment in my dream journal and I realized like all the things we did today, we did in this dream. And maybe the story was a little different, but like the main
Yeah,
activities
of
we did
course.
were in the dream. So that was again, and I was like, okay, what do I do with this information? I don't know how this is useful to me at all, other than like, this is really cool. So that's
Yeah,
my experience.
this is really cool, but also like, did it make you think about the concept of time? Like, because for me, having precognitive dreams, it really challenged my idea of time. So I wonder how is that for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, very early on, I was already thinking, or knowing that time is not linear and that it's an illusion, and all these conclusions that I've come to about how time is not what we think it is, in physical waking. I mean, even like when I started reading about quantum physics and planets, what's the word for it? Anyway, about how gravity and planets changes the time of it. Right there, I was like, okay, we already know scientifically proven that time is not what we think it is. So it's not far out there to think that dreams allow us to look outside of linear time and see the maze from above, kind of, and see things that might happen. And this is also, there's some research on like big events such as like natural disasters
Yeah.
or even COVID and things like that, where a lot of people will dream about these themes. Of course, the brain like uses a story or metaphors to like logically, you know, satisfy our limiting beliefs, so to speak. So there's different versions of it, but a lot of people will kind of dream together of these things before they happen. So it's not uncommon. And I think that we're all connected in that way. And if the collective consciousness holds all the future, past, and present, then it would make sense that we can get glimpses of it, like little sneak peeks, and then we have to come back in and figure out how we're gonna apply that information. I don't think that we're supposed to stop something or save somebody. I don't think it's that much responsibility. I think that it's just a knowing so we can emotionally prepare and realize like our connection to each other.
Definitely. And I also think that because such a small percentage of people write down their dreams, like as you said, people don't know they had. I believe that everyone has a precognitive dream, but because if you don't write it down, like maybe if you didn't write down the dream with your friend, like maybe you would not remember that because we have so many things and so many things enter our awareness and our thoughts and such a busy life, right? So you wouldn't even know because sometimes for me even I just like go over my journal, not every single dream I remember, like sometimes I don't even remember that I wrote it like 2 hours later. This is so interesting, like I wrote that, like I don't remember anything, right? It's completely erased. And then I say like, oh wow, I dreamt about it before it happened, so I wouldn't know otherwise. It wasn't something very like big, as you say, like relevant, but it does happen. So I think it's the same as you said, like mutual dreams, precognitive dreams, lucid dreams. People may not even remember they had them. So if you take something from this conversation, is write down your dream.
Yes, exactly. That's where it all starts. You have to remember them. Or, you know, we spend a third of our life there. Don't you want to know like what you're doing in all these adventures? Like, yeah, all these different types of dreams, like dream recall is the skill underneath it that everybody should work on.
Exactly. So, Amina, for people that would like to find more about you, about your work, your programs, your ideas, your research, where should they look for you?
Yeah, so the dreamworldpodcast.com is a good place to start. I have everything there, all the links to the different podcast platforms. I have some blog posts on there. I have the ultimate list of things to do on my website in a lucid dream. So if you need some inspiration of things you can do in a lucid dream, I have this long list on there. But yeah, all the social medias, you know, you can find me there with that handle.
Do you have any upcoming like courses or gatherings or something that you're planning or even ideas that you would like to execute in the future?
Yes. So I actually have an online course already that anybody can sign up to. And I'm going to give you a free code for your listeners, actually, so they can join for free. I love giving it out to free for free because I think everybody should learn how to lucid dream. And there's a lot of like research on there. And I'm just pulling up the code really quick. But in terms of events, I don't have anything necessarily that I'm planning except for the, you know, IASD conference in June. It's going to be in Oregon, so I'll be there. If anybody's local to the West Coast, I might do like a workshop or something. I don't know.
Amazing. So I'm gonna include that in the notes and also link to your website and to some of your social media. And yeah, I really hope I see you next year in June at the conference. I hope I will be able
Yeah,
to make it. It's gonna be a bit far for me, but who knows?
hopefully. And also, side note about the link, it expires after a month. But if anybody's listening to this later and wants a free code, just email me and I got you.
Amazing. So thank you so much, Amina, for sharing your wisdom and experience with us. And yeah, do you have like a last sentence of wisdom for anyone who would like to maybe have their first lucid dream ever?
Just pay more attention to your non-lucid dreams. Like, start there.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.